story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the court.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped.
What was meant to be Caitlin Clark's coronation week in Indianapolis has instead spiraled into a nightmare for the WNBA. The city unveiled a towering 34-story mural of Clark on the JW Marriott, bracing for record crowds and huge revenue. But instead of a celebration, the league was met with half-empty seats and frustrated fans boycotting the All-Star game. The question on everyone's mind: how did the WNBA turn its brightest star's hometown showcase into a financial fiasco? And what did Commissioner Kathy Engelbert finally say about the ongoing officiating controversy during All-Star weekend? The answer cuts to the heart of everything wrong with how the league treats the very players who bring fans through the doors. Do you think the WNBA will ever learn? Let us know in the comments.
Indianapolis. Look, this is what everybody's been talking about. This right here, Caitlin Clark, the banner right there on the JW Marriott. It is 34 stories banner, unbelievable. Is the largest banner ever on the JW Marriott. You may think about the bracket. Remember back in the NCAA tournament back in 2021? Yeah, it's bigger than that as well. 113,000 square feet. It is unbelievable. And you see what it says: from downtown in my town. No doubt, this is something that is grabbing everyone's attention. And who else better to be on that than the...
Indianapolis spent months gearing up for what was expected to be the biggest weekend in WNBA history. A replica All-Star court was installed at the airport, local businesses boosted inventory and staffing, and Gainbridge Fieldhouse sold out within hours of tickets going on sale. Prices skyrocketed, entry-level seats hit $121, average resale prices climbed to $262, and premium tickets sold for thousands, the highest figures ever recorded for a WNBA All-Star game, according to TickPick.
Missed it, the crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far.
Then came July 17th. The announcement of Clark's groin injury hit social media, and the entire market unraveled in real time. Ticket prices that had averaged $262 collapsed to just $64 within hours, a staggering 75% drop. Sellers panicked, flooding the resale market and slashing prices in desperation. The get-in cost plunged from $121 to barely $65, yet even at those bargain levels, demand evaporated. This wasn't a slow decline stretched over days, it was a financial meltdown unfolding live on social media.
$121 all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She's injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for 80? Okay, I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy it to 70? I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends, and they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth.
What makes this even more brutal is that the warning signs were already there. Earlier in the season, when Clark missed games with a quad strain in May, ticket prices nosedived. Washington saw a 47% drop, and Chicago, a high-demand market, plummeted 71%. But those were regular season matchups. This was the All-Star game in her hometown. The collapse this time wasn't just steep, it was unprecedented.
And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the...
Gainbridge Fieldhouse was on the verge of its first sellout of the season. Think about that, a venue packed to capacity for nearly 2 straight years of Fever games was suddenly staring at empty seats during the biggest basketball weekend Indianapolis had hosted since the NBA All-Star Game. The math was unforgiving. Vendors who had poured thousands into All-Star merchandise faced steep losses, while restaurants and hotels bracing for record crowds were hit with waves of cancellations. The economic shock rippled through downtown Indianapolis as the reality set in.
In the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark.
This wasn't just about one player missing a game. Fans were sending the loudest possible message about who truly drives interest in the WNBA. When other stars go down, ticket prices don't collapse like this. The market was blunt. Without Clark, the All-Star Game wasn't worth the price of admission. The crash forced an uncomfortable truth into the open: this record-breaking season wasn't built on league-wide momentum, it was built on one player. And without her, those attendance records and revenue milestones suddenly looked a lot less historic.
Year, for the second time ever, the WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to feature an actual star. Normally, this celebration of pretend basketball features players that no one's ever heard of.
Clark's groin injury didn't come out of nowhere. It was the predictable outcome of months of increasingly physical play that officials refused to control. Opponents realized they could grab, shove, and hit Clark with little consequence, and night after night, the whistles stayed silent.
How did we get to an All-Star Game in Indiana where Caitlin Clark is not healthy enough to play? Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail.
Stephanie White saw it coming long before the injury. The Fever coach had been calling out the officiating all season, pointing to a double standard that allowed defenders to play Clark with a level of physicality other players never face. White wasn't exaggerating. She was watching her star get battered night after night while referees looked the other way.
Level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. We've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
Let's be real about what was happening on the court. The Washington Post flat out blasted the WNBA's second-rate officiating, saying it turned games into bruising slugfests. They even joked the league should swap its logo for a bruise and adopt "no call" as its motto. That wasn't hyperbole, it was reality for fans watching night after night. The evidence was everywhere: defenders hooking Clark's arms, shoving her off screens, hammering her on drives, and getting away with it. Clip after clip showed the same pattern, while referees stood by. The result? A culture where targeting Clark wasn't just tolerated, it became a strategy.
Last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls, they don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call absolutely nothing.
Here's what makes this even worse. In sports history, star players usually get protection from officials. The league's biggest draws aren't treated like practice dummies, but Clark was getting hammered while referees acted like they forgot their job. The numbers underline a league failing its players, 57 head and neck injuries in just the past 2.5 seasons, with guards and small forwards taking the brunt, according to the Washington Post. This isn't normal wear and tear. It's a clear pattern of dangerous play being allowed to continue. Lisa Leslie knows exactly what Clark is facing. Back in 2006, Leslie suffered a groin injury and warned that these injuries can linger for months, or even years. That's the reality Clark now faces because referees refuse to enforce the rules. This wasn't bad luck or just part of basketball, it was predictable. Every uncalled grab, every ignored shove, every foul that went unwhistled added up to this moment. Now the officiating crisis has cost the WNBA millions in revenue and exposed a systemic failure to manage the game. When your biggest star gets injured because the league won't protect her, don't be surprised when fans stop showing up.
2006, and listen, I was heavily taped around my thigh, around my glute, just trying to make sure there was enough pressure to hold that groin. And the hard part is that the groin is sort of an area that you can't just touch and go, it hurts right here. You feel it deep. You have to get a lot of deep treatment, whether it's ice and heat and rest. Well, Caitlin Clark, she can't find a lot of rest right now because she's mid-season. But I think that injury is really tough because it lingers. No matter how much medicine you take, you can feel fine. You get back out there, one move, one change of direction, and boom, you're right back feeling that same type of pain. So it's going to be a tough injury that she's going to have to manage.
How long did it take you to recover from?
To be honest, Tracy, I play tennis and I can still feel that injury linger because I don't know that it ever really goes away. You just learn to manage and play with it,
As fans organized boycotts and ticket sales plummeted in real time, all eyes turned to Kathy Engelbert to see how she would handle the biggest crisis of her tenure as WNBA commissioner. This was her chance to show real leadership and address the officiating failures that led to Clark's injury. Instead, she offered the same sanitized, corporate response that only fueled fans' frustration.
And coaches of the last few days have complained without being fine-worthy about officiating. I just want to see about your thoughts on if officiating is an issue and how it can be improved. Because clearly there seems to be problems or disconnect between what players and coaches feel and what officials.
When pressed about the refereeing fiasco during All-Star Weekend, Engelbert delivered the standard executive non-answer. She touted a productive and constructive meeting with more than 40 players and league stakeholders, highlighting shared goals while sidestepping the real issue. Fans didn't care about meetings, they wanted accountability for the refs who allowed Clark to be battered all season long.
A fan of sports for 60 years now. I know that no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court, and our officiating then follows that.
Her response completely ignored the financial fallout unfolding across Indianapolis. While ticket prices crashed and local businesses faced massive losses, Engelbert spoke about maintaining team profitability and constructive dialogue. The disconnect was staggering. Fans were voting with their wallets, and she acted like everything was business as usual. What fans actually wanted was simple, an honest acknowledgement that officiating had been terrible, concrete steps to protect players like Clark, and an admission that letting opposing teams target your biggest star is bad for business. Instead, they got corporate platitudes about shared goals and productive meetings. Engelbert's tone-deaf response proved that league leadership is out of touch with both fans and players. As Indianapolis counted its losses and fans organized boycotts, she was defending the status quo, making the boycott worse, not better.
She goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play 20 minutes in a game without being on the bench in foul trouble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. But like I said, this year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do what the higher-ups say.
The commissioner's weak leadership during this crisis has left fans questioning whether the WNBA can ever change. When your top revenue driver gets injured because referees won't protect her, and your response is nothing more than corporate platitudes about productive dialogue, you've lost the plot. Fans saw through the empty promises, and they responded accordingly. Ticket sales collapsed. The WNBA got exactly what it deserved, an all-star game many called an abomination for the sport of basketball. Without Clark, the league was left trying to sell a product nobody wanted. The result was brutal to watch. Empty seats dotted Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the energy was flat, and the basketball was lackluster. What was meant to be the showcase event of the season felt more like a practice scrimmage that nobody cared about.
Gonna mess around, and a large, massive group of fans are gonna be like, enough is enough. We've never had to see anything like it in sports, but you don't see these other leagues going around talking crazy about their fan bases all the time, like this league does. It's continuous. They're running their mouth about the people that are paying money to see them. You don't have other jobs where people walk up. You're in a public job that's in front of the world.
The 4-point shot gimmick only made things worse. Instead of real basketball, fans got what one source described as a glorified layup line, with players just jacking shots from well beyond the arc. Defense was nearly non-existent. Nobody was competing, and the whole spectacle turned into an unwatchable mess that alienated the fans who actually care about the game. Even more telling? The biggest story wasn't the game, it was the New York Liberty sending their mascot to recruit Clark during All-Star Weekend. Think about that, a team mascot making recruitment pitches generated more buzz than the game itself. The Liberty clearly understood something the league didn't: how to protect and value a prized asset. Their actions completely overshadowed what was happening on the court.
Yeah, just going through, I'm going to tell you, Leah Boston, let's break down her face right now. I am not happy with the Liberty mascot invading our home turf right here. I mean, that mascot's cute. That mascot's cute. It is. She's having fun, but, you know, it's the Liberty mascot. So, of course, that is what everybody notices, right? After the meeting, the WWE style meeting in the back of the arena, right? As the heels are all meeting together, Breonna Stewart, and Sabrina, and Sandy Barndello, basically the Liberty, and of course the recruiting into the Four Horsemen. They're recruiting Caitlin.
This was the WNBA's first real test without Clark, and it failed spectacularly. The contrast with regular season games, where her presence generates energy and excitement, was stark. Without her drawing power, the All-Star game exposed just how dependent the league is on one player to create interest. The implications are massive. The Clark effect isn't just about stats or ticket sales, it's about the future of women's basketball and whether the league can sustain the momentum it built this season. This All-Star disaster proved they can't. Fans voting with their wallets sent a message the league can no longer ignore. Empty seats, crashing ticket prices, and scathing reviews weren't about one player missing a game, they were a warning about a fundamental disconnect between what fans want and what the WNBA is delivering. The league spent months touting record viewership and unprecedented growth, but All-Star Weekend revealed the truth: strip away Clark's star power, and you're left with a product that fans don't want to watch or pay for. Poor officiating, tone-deaf leadership, and a complete disconnect from fan expectations turned a generational talent into a cautionary tale. Clark brought record viewership, fan excitement, and millions in revenue, and the league managed to squander it. This All-Star disaster isn't the end of Caitlin Clark's story. It's a wake-up call from fans demanding better from a league that clearly needs to change. The real question now, will the WNBA learn from this expensive lesson, or keep making the same mistakes until there's nothing left to save? Let us know in the comments if you think the WNBA will ever learn. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Click on the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.